raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirt bags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Stand strong. The day is here. The battle's near. Put on the armor. Yeah. Belt the truth around my waist. Feet of peace, I take my place. Breastplate shining righteousness. Shield of faith, no fear, no death. Helmet of salvation, crown. The word of spirit cuts them down. Darkness trembles, shadows fall. I'm clothed in fire, I hear the call. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. Every scheme and every snare broken by the power of prayer. Though the rulers plot in chains, the Lord of hosts still reigns, still reigns. In the silence, in the flame, I march in strength, I call his name. Principalities bow low, the battle ends, the truth will show. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. I stand against the powers, against the rulers of this age. I stand against the darkness and every spirit in its cage. I will not fear, I will not fall. The armor of God surrounds it all. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. Stand strong. Stand Armor of God.
Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose. I hope everybody is having a great start of their week, a great Monday out there, and had a good weekend. I know that it has been absolutely crazy just in the last few days. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things happening in Minnesota, my state that I live in. Yes, I'm safe. There's nothing crazy going on here. I'm in suburbia in a very conservative town that you don't have to worry about too much things happening here. But yeah, a lot of things to talk about with Minneapolis this last weekend. A lot of power plays happening right now on the global stage, whether it's China, the UK, Canada, or just Donald Trump and what he's doing. So we're going to discuss all of that tonight. Looking forward to it. I'm glad to kind of be back after a 4-day hiatus. We had a Q After Hours show last night, got canceled. And that's unfortunate. Brad's had a power outage. Alpha is traveling. And I walked into the studio and I have a foam roof that kind of goes over the studio in my garage, and that collapsed. And so it was like -20 in here. And you can ask Nino, like I did this show and you can see my breath and stuff. But anyways, we are back tonight. It's nice and warm in here, and I hope everybody is doing well out there. A few wrestling tournaments this week, so get you updated on the week and how this is gonna kind of roll. A few wrestling tournaments this week, so I will be having later shows this week. Just keep that in mind. Thursday Q&A. I believe there is a tournament Thursday night, so the Q&A probably will be delayed a little while, so I apologize about that. We're looking to actually do the Q&A on a different day, and kind of give you an idea is that it might be Alpha and I actually doing a Q&A. So just keep that in mind for right now. We're going to try to revamp and reorganize things. One of the things I think is pretty cool is one thing that I've been working on is a new website. It's not, it is out there, but I'm not going to give the web address because it's kind of like just it's not fully ready yet. But I've been redeveloping the whole website. This is one thing that I've been doing in the backdrop. And so this is the website. It's coming out probably by the end of this week. Up here, you have a playlist that'll be playing all the recent shows, plus all live shows are supposed to be playing on it. Obviously, live shows not playing on it. So that's one of the things I got to fix. But you got all the music that we're talking about with the Red Pill Project in here. All of the video library that'll load up a little bit faster once we get all going. Our Substack is linked up in there. Our merch shop, our sponsors, and ways to support us. So we have that coming out this week. Just keep an eye out for that. And that will be at the normal website address, redpills.tv. So that's not changing, but that will be coming out probably by the end of this week. I just got a few more bugs I got to get out of it, but it's a badass website. And I built it. So that's pretty cool. I feel good about it because I built it. So anyways, let's get rocking and rolling into what's happening in the world right now. And yes, I can build websites. I know how to build websites. I've been building websites since 1998. And I don't like building websites, but now I like building websites. With AI, it's actually really cool. All right. So I put a post out this weekend. I said, this is the point of the game where pawns begin to change color and move for the other side of the board, where influence operations become everyday news on social media. And I say, stay level-headed. Don't fall for the psyop. They want you divided. They want you angry. They want you destabilized in the social construct. They want civil war. This is going to be so important over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, guys. Okay? If you've been following me for any time in the last year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, since November of 2020, when Jason and I sat in this show after the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump, Jason and I laid it out on this show. We sat here and said, a lot of things are about to change. But one of the primary things we talked about was what I coined the firestorm. This firestorm is what we've been waiting for, what has been prefaced by the 4 years of the Biden administration with 23 plus million illegal immigrants flowing over from Hezbollah, Unit 910, Al Qaeda, Taliban, from the cartels to the gangs, the Tren de Aragua, to whomever else was brought over, Chinese military-age males. We've mapped this out for you. And it's crazy that in reality, it's actually happening. And we're watching right now the first bubble of this begin to form in Minneapolis. And so this is what I'm talking about. There's a lot of back and forth rhetoric going on. My post this weekend, and I'm going to pull up 2 of my posts this weekend, and I try to be as level-headed as possible. I try to look at things with the shooting of Alex Preddy. I try to look at it from a very, very neutral standpoint. I look at it from the police officer standpoint. I look at it from the gun carrier, Alex Preddy's standpoint. I try to look at it from both perspectives. Now, I know that it's emotionally charging. That's the point. This is the fuel to the fire that they want. You're going to go on social media. You're going to see hundreds of different posts, thousands of different posts saying different things. You're going to have people that you thought were conservative influencers out there saying, oh my God, they're turning on the Second Amendment. They're going to take your guns. You have violent left rhetoric that's inciting civil war on the left. Then you have, and I will be 100% straight up, there's 2 people from the Trump administration this weekend who lost a boatload of respect from me. Okay? 2 people specifically. And I won't show their post, but I will get into that. Okay? And the reason is because they downgraded themselves to play the same rhetoric game that the left plays. And it was atrocious. I had somebody who knows what I do for a living, who's very close to me, who's a diehard Trump supporter and conservative, say, what that person just said there, that's the reason why MAGA is falling apart. That's the reason why you have destabilization in the Republican Party, because it's not just the left fueling rhetoric. It's people on Trump's cabinet closest to him. That's huge. Now, I have a theory about why. We'll get into that here in a little bit once we get into all of this. And that's going to be about mid-level. I mean, I got a ton of stuff to go through. It's been 4 days, so there's a lot of news to kind of get through. But let me kind of just start here. Man, well, wow, we're jumping up right now on Rumble. Rumble kicking butt out there, people. YouTube kicking it up there. Let me see. Let me go to X and see. We got about 200 people. Usually by the end of the show, we'll have a few thousand. So, okay, cool. We got some good audience joining in. We're getting started right now. All right, this weekend, the Pentagon had rewritten the playbook. Homeland and Western hemispheres are now a top priority. The 2026 National Defense Strategy just dropped, okay? Now, you have to coincide this with the National Security Strategy that came out in December. So now you have the National Defense Strategy. What do we learn from it? China is no longer a primary threat. The U.S. homeland is. The Western Hemisphere is. Europe's downgraded the smaller and decreasing share of the global economic power. Secretary Hegseth has buried this for months while officials fought over how to describe China without sabotaging trade talks. So now it's out. Diplomacy with Beijing, strong denial defense in the Pacific. But the real focus, Greenland, Panama Canal, and the Gulf of Mexico, keeping Chinese influence out of the Western Hemisphere. The reality of the situation, Trump's abandoning the grandiose strategies for what he calls practical interests. And I love this from a kind of a limited federal government libertarian perspective, isolationist perspective, that we should just get ourselves out of foreign wars and stuff like that. I know that there's certain actions that are contradictory to what we're saying here, but we already understand how that plan's rolling out and why those things are happening. But if we're looking at specifically the National Defense Strategy that just came out and coinciding that with the National Security Strategy, there's one thing that is certain, that a multipolar world has been formed, that it's beginning to take shape, and that you have the 3 major power players power projecting their influence. With understanding that, Davos signified that the New World Order, once a dream of global organizations and institutions, of bodies of government riddled throughout Europe, is dead, is gone. Hence why the world is on the brink, because we are awaiting for this systematic collapse of those old institutions that fed into that system. Now, I'm not saying that all the institutions are going to fail and go away. I think a lot of them will go away, but I think that a lot of them are going to be reabsorbed into the multipolar world framework, right? So let's move on to the next part here. Oh, well, it just kind of, I've talked about this guy multiple different times on the show. Ray Dalio. And whether you love Ray Dalio, hate Ray Dalio is incredibly smart. The guy is practically a genius when it comes to modeling the economic frames of how they move through time. He is a globalist. I mean, he literally had a book called The New World Order. He's the man on his book tour 3 years ago that was doing a podcast interview for his book tour. And he was asked a question, what do you think is going to happen during the 2024 election? He said, if I understand history correctly, we are coming up into a fourth turning. This comes the fourth turning. If you guys don't know or understand the concept, there's two different books. Number one book is called Generations, and Generations was written by two Columbia history professors, Strauss and Howe. And they compiled the last 500 years of history from the fall of the Roman Empire to the current date. And they looked at the rise and fall of civilizations, of great countries and empires, and how they fell. And they realized that there was a 72 to 90 year cycle that played out in the context of turnings: first turning, second turning, third turning, fourth turning. And that every 90 years, it would do a full cycle rebound. And this is what Ray Dalio is talking about when he says that we're coming up to that right now. The last time that this happened was at the end of World War II. And this is when the rules-based international order formed. And this is where governments were instituted underneath institutions and NGOs and think tanks that basically derived policy and regulation and actually got laws involved in it. And that came down from unelected bureaucrats. That was the New World Order that we were talking about. And he's saying that that's over, but a new one is forming. And basically it was open for anybody who wanted to shape the New World Order around this time. And he was obviously on the side of the World Economic Forum. He was on the side of the European globalists. Well, he just came out. He says, now it's now happening. The existing fiat monetary order, the domestic political order, the international geopolitical order are all breaking down. So we are at the brink of wars. It all is happening because of the big cycle that is driven by five big forces I described repeatedly and laid out in detail in my book and YouTube videos titled Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. You can find the videos linked below. And I'm going to play this short little video because I don't care that the guy's a globalist. He's right in what he's saying right here. Okay. Well, he's right on the economic aspect of it, but we already know the solution that's being implemented. So I'm going to play this, and then we're going to talk about the consequences of what happens from this and what is being done to stop this from happening.
While in the top phase, most of these strengths are sustained, embedded within the fruits of their success are the seeds of their decline. As a rule, as people in these rich and powerful countries earn more, that makes them more expensive and less competitive relative to people in other countries who are willing to work for less. At the same time, people in other countries naturally copy the methods and technologies of the leading power, which further reduces the leading power's competitiveness. For example, British shipbuilders had less expensive workers than Dutch shipbuilders. So they hired Dutch designers to design better ships that were built by less expensive British workers, making them more competitive, which led the British to rise and the Dutch to decline. Also, as people become richer, they tend not to work as hard. They enjoy more leisure, pursue the finer and less productive things in life, and at the extreme become decadent. Values change from generation to generation during the rise to the top, from those who had to fight to achieve wealth and power to those who inherited it. They're less battle-hardened, steeped in luxuries, and accustomed to the easy life, which makes them more vulnerable to challenges. The golden era of the Dutch Empire and the Victorian era of the British Empire were such high prosperity periods like this. As people get used to doing well, they increasingly bet on the good times continuing and borrow money to do that, which grows into financial bubbles. Naturally, the financial gains come unevenly, so the wealth gap grows. Wealth gaps are self-reinforcing because rich people use their greater resources to reinforce their powers. For example, they give greater privileges to their children, like better education, and they influence the political system to their advantage. This causes the gaps in values, politics, and opportunities to grow between the rich haves and the poor have-nots. Those who are less well off feel the system is unfair, so resentments grow. But as long as the living standards of most people are still rising, these gaps and resentments don't boil over into conflict. Having the world's reserve currency inevitably leads to borrowing excessively and contributes to the country building up large debts with foreign lenders. While this boosts spending power over the short term, it weakens the country's financial health and weakens the currency over the long term. In other words, when borrowing and spending are strong, the empire appears very strong, but its finances are in fact being weakened. The borrowing sustains the country's power beyond its fundamentals by financing both domestic overconsumption and international military conflicts required to maintain the empire.
Okay. Short video, but you get the point. Is that the dollar is coming into a point of break, of weakening. And here's the thing. Trump knows this. Trump is well aware of this cycle. And so when you look at the national security strategy, the national defense strategy, and you understand that there's a prime focus on the Western Hemisphere, that the only objective is to keep other world powers' influence outside of our hemisphere. And then you have the Trump administration going out there and trying to make critical trade deals and control the trade within the Western Hemisphere, but also secure the resources in the Western Hemisphere. Why? Because typically in this type of situation, it's going to lead eventually to world war. Because when you have all of these systems begin to collapse, you have a power vacuum that occurs and people want to obtain that power and project theirs into the system and then remodel it to their own way. Whether it was Nazi Germany, Russia, whether it was Japan or the United States or Europe during World War II, we can understand how this works. Okay. So we are coming up to that point right now. But here's the genius in what Donald Trump is doing. And if this is your first time watching, I ask you to just listen. Since Donald Trump has came into office, he has established a few different things that we still don't know the reason or the purpose of. But when you start to analyze them from a wider perspective, you begin to see how it all fits together. Number one, it's a sovereign wealth fund. Number two is the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Number three is the clarity in the Genius Act that based upon stable coins and cryptocurrencies and bringing about regulations for them. Number four is the statement that the United States will be the crypto mining capital of the world. Number two is the other statement that states that the United States will be the AI capital of the world. We're already on nine. The ninth thing is $21 trillion plus of investment capital flowing into the United States of America from various different companies and countries. When you start to add all of those things up and then the renegotiation of various different trade deals, reducing the U.S. trade deficit, the tariff income that is coming in, the Trump administration talking about removing the federal income tax, you got to start asking yourself, well, how does this all work out? Well, if you have a world order that's collapsing, that also takes down the economic systems that have brought it up, then you need a parallel economic system to be built up in the meantime to begin rising up at the same time as that other one's falling. That way, when the one crashes, the other can systematically just pop right in and take its place. And this is what we're seeing. The beard is completely uneven. I didn't get to brush it correctly today, so I apologize. And like, it's hard to do it in a mirror when I'm looking in there. Anyways, it's not uneven. It's just the way it's brushed and the oil that I have in it. But thank you, Susan. Now back on track because you lost my train of thought. So when you start to bring this other parallel system up, you have to wonder, well, how is this going to work and how is it not going to crash the whole system? Because the new system that is being developed, the parallel economic system, is not being based on another fiat currency. There's a reason why you have gold and silver skyrocketing. There's a reason why we talked about months ago the gold rehypothecation, silver rehypothecation. That is basically eliminating the intermediary of paper, gold, and silver from the markets and actually looking at the true value of what is actually out there. Countries bringing the gold back into their own country. So we're seeing this happen right now, and everybody's preparing for this economic calamity that they see in the near future. Well, Donald Trump is preparing for it more so than anybody else. And what he's doing is he's looking at the $23 trillion of investment capital flowing into the United States of America, which is going to build an technological infrastructure for artificial intelligence and blockchain and quantum computing technologies, as well as the Golden Dome, new weapon defense systems, all of these great things. We're on the verge of something known as artificial superintelligence, which is going to completely transform and change the world. The first country that obtains artificial superintelligence is going to be the leader of the world over the next 100 years, because they're always going to have that systematic edge over every other country on new discoveries and technological innovations. Right now, the United States of America is set up to become that exact country. So then you ask yourself, well, how can we do that? Well, number one is that the base core of all artificial intelligence systems is energy. It consumes massive amounts of energy. So now you look at Donald Trump securing Venezuelan oil, getting into negotiations with Canada, which we'll talk about here in a little while, unlocking $124 trillion worth of U.S. resources underneath our grounds, underneath our feet on federal land. Okay, this is all about unlocking those resources, but then at the same time, his trade deals, negotiations, his actions against Venezuela and Iran, his defense cooperation agreements with various Middle Eastern countries. This is all strategic against the next big player, China. And it limits China's access to energy, to LNG, liquid natural gas, to oil. So you have to look at it from that strategic component. Now, after the aspect of oil, you have the $23 trillion that's going to build out this infrastructure. Well, this is going to American businesses. American businesses are going to hire American citizens. We have a massive amount of illegal immigrants, over 2.5 million that have been ejected out of our country already, which means that the American people are going to benefit from this. The government is taking a portion from that investment capital that is coming in the interest of those companies, just like Trump got 10% of Intel. That's going to be laid within the sovereign wealth fund. And then when revenue distributions come about and dividends are paid into the sovereign wealth fund, that's going to fund the government. Not only will that fund the government, that's going to pay off the national debt, but that's also going to pay a dividend check to the people of the United States of America. And so as that grows, one second, I'm going to sneeze. I was able to mute before I sneeze. But as that begins to grow, it's going to get more and more grandeur. And the reason I say that is because the one scale that you have to look at when you look at artificial intelligence, automated technologies that work on AI, is the cost of goods and services decreases drastically because you have automated labor forces. And yes, people are being displaced and losing their jobs. I agree. But you also have to look at the cost of living decreases drastically. But the wealth generation that is produced by those companies and corporations that also feeds back into the sovereign wealth fund that then distributes dividends out to the people increases. And so you have to see how this sovereign wealth fund this new parallel economic system is going to operate. And then artificial intelligence actually becomes an ancillary backbone system to back up artificial intelligence. Why? Because they have three commonalities: energy, computational power, and data. Those are the three things that AI and blockchain all have in common. So when Trump comes out and says that blockchain is going to be the wave of the future, we're going to be the blockchain mining country of the world, he means it, because it's a necessary backbone for artificial intelligence. So if anybody out there is interested in getting started in cryptocurrency and doesn't know kind of what to do or how to start, and wants to get interested, I did do a course on that. And if you're interested in the course, just visit that link and it'll take you to the course. And it's self-paced. I think it's like 3 or 4 hours. You can take it right there, redpills.tv/course. I gotta prop it out there myself. I did a lot of work on that course. All right, let's jump into the next parts, and we will talk about this more throughout the week, especially when we get into economic news, because that's one part that I'm going to focus on a lot more over the course of the next few months, because it's going to become a much larger topic of discussion. President Trump said this weekend, Iran wants a deal, just as the U.S. Armada arrives. Now, remember what I was saying last week, that originally Trump had strike plans. He had all the assets in place. Delta Force on Iraqi border. You had massive amounts of armaments over. We saw the Stratcoms, the Strata tankers moving over into the Middle East. We knew Trump was ready to strike. There was a backdoor deal, from what I gather, made between the Army Secretary General in Pakistan and Iran leadership through Donald Trump, that basically Donald Trump said, I'm going to give you an ultimatum. You have this much time to comply. If you don't comply, there's going to be consequences. And so as he began not hearing from Iran, he started moving more assets into place, to the point where Iran now comes out and says, we want to make a deal. Let's figure this out. So this will be interesting. I don't think he's necessarily going to take any other deal with Iran other than the idea that Khamenei and the mullahs leave. That's literally going to be the deal. Khamenei and the mullahs leave. And why? Because that is the only way to avoid full-scale war between Israel and Iran. I know it's a very delicate topic to talk about. Okay, so that's the one point of kind of global news. I have a little bit more that's going to come into the end of the show, but I wanted to talk about those specifically because we begin to see kind of the framework of the new world that is forming in front of us. But we also understand that the New World Order, the expansion of the British Empire, the utilization of the deep state intelligence apparatus, the old European aristocracy and the bloodlines and the royal families and all of this, who are that old New World Order, that old guard New World Order. They are still holding on to the thread. And the deep state in the United States, that is their puppets. But right now, the deep state is under massive investigation, whether it's Fort Pierce, Florida, Judge Cannon overseeing that grand jury that's looking into, you have the the 2016 intelligence assessment, you have FISA-gate, you have the 2020 election, everything that we know of is being investigated. And I agree. Come on, Pam Bondi, let's get moving here. But we know that the investigations are open. And I think that Trump is delaying on bringing about arrests and prosecutions and indictments, because specifically, he's waiting for a strategic time, and that's going to be right before, I believe, the primary season, which is coming up here in a few months. But then the Trump administration started poking in the middle of the state level of what the states were doing. And you had Scott Bassett just come out and say the other day that what we are doing in Minnesota, investigating fraud, we're going to use as a template for the rest of the country. And obviously you have Keith Ellison, the attorney general out here, Tim Walz, the governor, Mayor Frey, all involved in Ilham Omar, that's directly associated, went from, $30 in her bank account to $30 million in just a few different years with absolutely nothing in the middle of it. No fashion line or no social media, trend boxes that creating her money. The question is where did she get that money? Well, she got it for kickbacks from the people that were getting federal money and federal assistance that were opening up all of these shops, whether it was medical, whether it was the learning centers or the luring centers. But either way, we understand that there's a massive amount of corruption, $19 billion worth of corruption in Minnesota. Now, with that being understood, the events of this last weekend are critical to begin to see what's unfolding. Eric Shawam, he made a post simply on someone else's comments, and I want to see you how kind of crazy this is. So this is a Cam Higbee, and he posted this weekend the Signal chat in Minneapolis, which they were able to get inside. And yes, there's some interesting people in there. He says, I have infiltrated organizational signal groups all around Minneapolis with the sole intention of tracking down federal agents and impeding, assaulting, and obstructing them. Buckle up, all will be revealed. And Eric, this gentleman right here, retired Green Beret, chief warrant officer, skeptical patriot, questioning narratives, governance, and security, intel background focused on truth beyond the mainstream. Now, Cam's post got 21 million views. Eric's comment, look at this, 24 million views. That's astounding. He ratioed Cam. But listen to what he says here. As a former Special Forces warrant officer with multiple rotations running counterinsurgency ops, both hunting insurgents and trying to separate them from sympathetic population, I've seen organized resistance up close, from Anbar to Hellman. The pattern is familiar. Spotters, cutouts, dead drops or modern equivalents, disciplined comms or role specialization, and a willingness to absorb casualties while bleeding the stronger force slowly. What's unfolding in Minneapolis right now isn't protest. It's a low-level insurgency infrastructure built by people who've clearly studied the playbook. Signal groups at 1,000-member cap per zone, dedicated roles, mobile chasers, plate checkers, logging vehicle data into shared databases, 24/7 dispatch nodes, vectoring assets, salute-style reporting, seize activity, location, unit time, equipment on suspected federal vehicles, daily chat rotations, and timed deletions to frustrate forensic recovery, vetting processes for new joiners, mutual aid from sympathetic locals, teachers providing cover, possible police department tip-offs and license plate lookups, home-based coordination points, rapid escalation from observation to physical obstruction or worse. This isn't spontaneous outrage. This is C2, command and control with redundancy, OPSEC hygiene, and task organization that could make a special force team sergeant nod in recognition. Replace ICE agents with occupying coalition forces, and the structure maps almost one-to-one to early-stage urban cells we hunted in the mid-2000s. The most sobering part, it's domestic, funded, trained somewhere, and directed by people who live in the same country that they are trying to paralyze law enforcement in. When your own citizens build and operate this level of parallel intelligence and rapid response network against federal officers, complete with doxing, vehicle pursuits, and harassment that's already turned lethal, you're no longer dealing with civil disobedience. You're facing a distributed resistance that's learned the lessons of successful insurgencies. Stay below the kinetic threshold most of the time, force overreaction when possible, maintain popular support through narrative, and never present a single center of gravity. He says, I spent years training partner forces to dismantle exactly this kind of apparatus. Now pieces of it are standing up in American cities, enabled by elements of local government and civil society. They should keep every thinking American awake at night. Not because I want escalation, but because history shows these things don't de-escalate on their own once the infrastructure exists and the cadre believe they're winning the information war. We either recognize what we're actually looking at or we pretend it's still just activism until the structure hardens and spreads. Your call, America, but from where I sit, this isn't January 2026 politics anymore. It's phase one of something we've spent decades trying to keep off our own soil. Holy shit. And it's funny because I was writing a post talking about the proto-insurgency. Are we witnessing a pre-kinetic operational network organizing within civilian populations? I believe so. This is 4GW, 5GW tactics being used right now in Minnesota. And I talk about Eric Schwalm in his post that I just read. Here's my analysis of what we've been warning about for years and observing over the last few weeks. What's happening in some U.S. cities right now isn't a protest. Most of the people involved are clueless to what they are taking a part in. What is being uncovered by citizen journalists matches the organizational pattern of early-stage urban insurgency. Encrypted zone-based comms, role specialization, spotters chasing, medical logistics, real-time dispatch and tracking, OPSEC hygiene, coordinated obstruction enforcement. This is not spontaneous outrage or citizens protesting because they disagree politically. This is networked operational behavior. In the counterinsurgency doctrine, this phase is where movements stay below the kinetic threshold while bleeding state capacity, forcing overreaction, winning narrative legitimacy, and avoiding single center of gravity. You don't need foreign handlers for this to emerge. Digital platforms, activist playbooks, institutional sympathy are enough. The danger isn't civil war. It's something quieter and harder to confront. Parallel enforcement resistance, private intelligence networks, narrative shielded disruption of federal authority. This is hybrid 4GW, 5GW inside civilian systems. Ignore it and enforcement collapses. Crack down hard and legitimacy collapses. That dilemma is how the insurgencies win without winning militarily. This isn't left versus right. It's a centralized authority versus decentralized mobilized networks. When protest networks evolve into persistent enforcement resistance, history shows three paths: normalization, political absorption, or radical splintering. The danger isn't mass uprise. It's decentralized escalation that no one fully controls. Now think sleeper cells, 23 million illegal immigrants, gangs, cartels, terrorists that came over the border. They want a revolution. Well, here it comes. They lost power and now they'll take it back through chaos. This is the beginning of the firestorm. And so while people are out there pissing back and forth about he touched his gun, he didn't touch his gun, or the police are murderers, or no, he's an assassin. The real concern here is not how ICE reacted or how that guy reacted or what that guy was doing there or why he was put all that to the side. It's the operational front and center of what they are doing, of the system that they built. This is an insurgency, people. Exactly what General Michael Flynn has said before. This is an insurgency. And talking about General Michael Flynn, a get prop. The combination of agitation and propaganda, the left is being very effective in its application and use. And I'm going to play this little video real quick, 2 minutes long, to explain a get prop.
So have you heard of agitprop? Obviously, they don't want us knowing what agitprop is because then we'll recognize it and then we won't fall for it. But it's everywhere now. Basically, our whole media experience, it doesn't matter, mainstream media, alt media, social media, fake news media, whatever, they're all doing agitprop to us all the time from basically all sides. Agitprop is a playbook that blends agitation and propaganda together. It's about messing with your head and screwing with your emotions. It comes from the communist dictator Vladimir Lenin's playbook. And what Lenin said was, for it to be effective, it has to hit every group in society at the same time with narratives that will work on them specifically, tailored narratives to get them going. And of course, Hitler used it too, just the same. Agitprop is not just one thing though, it's two. It's agitation and propaganda. Agitation, which is agitation propaganda actually, hits your emotions hard. It hypes you up to get you to act, like rage or fear or anger, where it freezes you into despair by getting you to think, oh my god, it's too late to fix this. It's all lost. It's all about feeding you a story that's going to work on you. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's false, sometimes it's twisted, but the point is to get you agitated. So think curated posts on social media, like on X, viral videos that are made to make you feel a certain type of way, endless drag queen clips meant to spark outrage, demoralization campaigns to push inaction, make you feel like it's all a lost cause, or that we have to be total radicals in order to solve our problems. It's a systematic miseducation to shape how you see the world. It's the story they want you to believe.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
After they can get your emotions going with their agitation. And we're all swimming in this stuff constantly online. So we all need to know about it. You need to know to spot their game, to question their narratives, and stop letting them play you.
Spot on. It's interesting the note that agitation propaganda also is directly correlated with the Alice in Wonderland techniques that we've talked about and broken down on this show multiple different times. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, is on my X feed, there is a post. And I will post, how about this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Alice in Wonderland and I'm going to post this on Substack tonight. So if you guys are not subscribed to my Substack, go out there and subscribe to my Substack, and you can get, you'll get this tonight, okay? redpillproject.substack.com. It's on my X feed. It's kind of hard to find. You have to search the feed. But I will post this on Substack tonight so everybody has it. But got to go subscribe to that. Okay, redpillproject.substack.com. But the Alice in Wonderland PSYOP in your social media feed. CIA's Alice in Wonderland technique was originally an interrogation method developed by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard and then used in the original MK Ultra programs. And here's the most important part that you'll learn. Objective: overwhelm a subject with contradiction, chaos, and fear until reality itself collapses. In that confusion, the brain desperately grabs onto the first coherent narrative it's offered. That narrative becomes the new truth. Now take agitation propaganda, fit that in as a precursor that generates the chaos, the contradiction, the fear. And then some type of moral body of authority that steps in, that becomes the new truth. Whether it's a consoling group of radical lefties that put their arm around you and say, it's going to be okay, we got your back. Or whether it's other MAGA standing on their mountain, reaffirming their position, and you just vehemently agree with them. It's being used on both sides, and I think that that's the most important part that I'm going to tell you right now. I want you all to understand this. It is being used on both sides. We're at fucking war. I don't think there's any question on that. And that the whole world is a battlefield. This is unrestricted warfare. Now, going into that, agitprop, right? Agitation propaganda and then Alice in Wonderland technique. Now, I'm going to show you a post, and I want you to tell me how emotionally reactive, pissed off you get about it. Okay? Antifa-aligned gun groups are heading to Minneapolis. People tied to the John Brown Gun Club, Socialist Rifle Association, Redneck Revolt, and Armed Queer Salt Lake City are rolling in. Their goal is reportedly to start an armed standoff with ICE. No official confirmation yet, but it's already fueling calls for military intervention. Oh, it angers you. Oh, get you riled up. Makes you want to go grab your rifle, put on your freaking your camis, put on your level 4 armor and go, I'm going to Minneapolis. Agitation propaganda. Now, is it true? Who knows? We'll find out. Haven't heard any word of it. But your mind is in the battlefield. And I need you to understand that. And it's happening on both sides. So what we have to do as responsible Americans, as people who watch this show and understand that we're in the psychological domain, is we have to be able to recognize it. We have to be able to look and say, that's it. And I'm not going to be influenced by it. So, what happened this weekend? This is really interesting. I'm going to start with this post first, okay? Trump's post. Oh, do we have to do that? 1 second. Let me check real quick. I'm going to play. I'm going to go. So before we make this segue, I got one ad to read on Rumble. And so this is for Rumble. If anybody wants to get in on this for Rumble, all you have to do is go on to Rumble, and you will see these links in the live chat and the description also on this side of the show. But this is actually a really good one. My kids grew up on these. They've been out for quite a few years now. All right, parents, real talk for a second. America is about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming up on America's 250th birthday, 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-governance the world has ever seen. And actually, hold on, let me pull this down real quick. There we go. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters, not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and it's honestly a great way to introduce your kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why the idea they fought for still matters today. This guide sends kids back to the moment when the brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising your kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free with this special offer. You just need to pay the $2 for shipping and handling. Just head to free250guide.com. That's free250guide.com and the Kids Guide to America's 250th Birthday for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows it. So go support those that support us. Appreciate you guys. And let's get back into it. The post that I wanted to show you. I said this weekend after Donald Trump posted this. This was on the 25th. So this was yesterday. I said, this is most likely his last formal declaration for cooperation from local and state government. His next move will ultimately be the Insurrection Act. And he came out here and Donald Trump said, that is why I'm hereby calling Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and every Democrat governor and mayor in the United States of America to formally cooperate with the Trump administration to enforce our nation's laws rather than resist and stroke the flames of division, chaos, and violence. So he asked, Governor Walz, Mayor Frey should turn over all criminal illegal aliens that are currently incarcerated in state prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with illegal criminals with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. State and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens arrested by local police. Local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes. Democrat politicians must partner with federal government to protect American citizens in the rapid removal of all criminal illegal aliens in our country. Some Democrats in places like Memphis, Tennessee, Washington, D.C. have done so, resulting in safer streets for all. In addition, I'm hereby calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation to end sanctuary cities, which is the root cause of these problems. American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding American citizens only, not illegal criminals who broke our nation's laws. All of these requests are rooted in common sense and will provide the best possible circumstances to make America great again. The Trump administration is standing by and waiting any Democrat to do the right thing and work with us for these important matters and make America safe, like it is in all sections of the country where we are together with local leadership participating and involved. Huge. After this, I posted a comment on X, or a post on X. And let me read this to you. How to avoid further acceleration of a color revolution in Minneapolis. Number one, de-escalate. If protesters are there because of ICE, give them no reason to be there. Move on to another city, retain intel and recon, and reform in a few months. Number two, investigate. Replace ICE with federal prosecutors and FBI that begin investigating the criminality and corruption in Minnesota. Speeding up the timeline for indictments. Prosecute. Arrest the criminals involved in the from the low-hanging fruit to the highest-ranking traitor. Remove them from the chessboard. Then, once the political agitators that are fueling this dangerous situation are in jail, then bring ICE back in. The one strategy that the left will continue to pursue is increasing the chaos. They will put more agitators in front of ICE and fuel to incite more violence. They need this to spark their revolution. If this is a game, they are winning at the local level. Perception matters. Now, I said that yesterday. Today, what did we learn? Donald Trump. I just had a very good phone conversation with Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis. He also talked to Governor Tim Walz. Lots of progress is being made. Tom Homan will be meeting with him tomorrow in order to continue the discussion. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Now, this is interesting. Why is this interesting? We're learning that Customs and Border Patrol are being pulled out of Minneapolis. That Donald Trump is polling ICE and some of ICE and all of the Border Patrol out of Minneapolis. Therefore, he's removing a massive amount of people out of the 2,000 that are here. He's removing a big core of that. What does he get in return? Tim Walz has agreed that local and state government, local and state law enforcement will work with Customs and Border Patrol. They basically aligned with everything that Donald Trump said in that last statement. In other words, Tim Walz has seemingly capitulated. And now Donald Trump is de-escalating. So this is where it gets really, really interesting, because immediately after this, Obama comes out and he put a statement out. And one of the parts of the statement, he says, Obama calls on every American to support and draw inspiration from Minneapolis anti-ICE protests to hold our government accountable. In other words, he's pressing these ICE protesters to continue what they're doing. You got to remember, this is a fucking insurgency. Bill Clinton does the same thing, comes out and calls for the same thing. Now, this reminds me, what happens when mayors and police commissioners and chiefs do not enforce the law? What authority does POTUS have specifically over the Marines? What happens if Soros-funded operations to get violent and engage in domestic terrorism? Do you see where this is all going? Now, I think what happened is something occurred this weekend that changed the tide over Walz. Now, Walz knows that he's under investigation. AG Ellison knows he's under investigation. This has already been documented by the DOJ. They've already sent subpoenas to these people to retain records. So they were going to go full Monty with the riot. This is what they wanted. But then Trump is de-escalating. He's pulling the momentum of their surge out from under their feet. He could have easily just came in and done the Insurrection Act, but instead he goes, nah, we're going to pull Border and Border Patrol out. We're going to pull a lot of the ICE out, but I just need you to cooperate with our ICE guys, and we're not going to go through your cities and pull people off the streets, but what we want is we want the criminals. We want the people that are in jail and state and local prisons, the ones that have warrants out. We'll help you get those. And Walz is like, oh, okay. But I'm pretty sure that Walz on the back end is like, you got to work with me here. But I'm pretty sure Walz was showing something. And what was he showing? The leaked Signal chat that links directly back to Governor Walz's staffers and Dem politicians. Yeah. The Signal chat that was infiltrated this last weekend is pretty significant. You have Minneapolis City Council members who have been linked directly into it. You have 2 Minnesota state officials, Amanda Kohler, are reportedly identified in the leaked Signal chat that's part of the federal investigation into the anti-ICE activism. And then you have one more that's quite literally almost been confirmed that she's in there. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is one of the admins on the Signal chat. This means that the state of Minnesota is behind the protest. Remember how we were just talking about that this isn't a protest, this is an insurgency. This is operated just like out of the 1960s insurgents that would operate. And it goes all the way to the top. Remember when Vance Coulter came out and said that Tim Walz basically told him he needed to go kill Amy Klobuchar? And yeah, this is all starting to make sense now, isn't it? This is a freaking mafia, people. That's who these people are. So I don't know what was exchanged on the phone call between Tim Walz and Donald Trump, but it's not Donald Trump capitulating to Tim Walz. It's Tim Walz capitulating to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump simply had to say, we're sending the Marines, and it would have been over. But instead, Tim Walz came out and said, we're de-escalating. We will allow law enforcement to cooperate. And then Trump said, thank you. And he pulls Customs and Border Patrol out of there. He pulls a lot of ICE agents out of there. Tom Homan's coming in to work with state and local law enforcement, get the names to basically get everything going. And now they're pulling the momentum out of the fire of their color revolution. Now, why would Tim Walz do that? Because he knows what's coming down and he's willing to probably make a deal. When does a bird sing, right? He's probably willing to make a deal. That's why we're probably seeing this, because the evidence that came out this last weekend shows almost conclusively that the Tim Walz administration is directly associated with the insurgency that is going on in Minneapolis. Well, Josh, it's not an insurgency. Really? Then why did Cam Higbee, who got into these groups, have their training manual? Why do they have a training manual? Why is it that Minnesota State Police and local police in Hennepin County and Minneapolis were not assisting ICE at their hotel last night when rioters were trying to break in and hurt them? What did they say? We thought of helping the vandalized hotel, but the feds showed up, so we bailed. And what happened this weekend that really kind of sparked it all? Another catalyst level event. A few weeks ago, we have, what's her name? Renee Good. This weekend, we had Alex Pretty. Alex Pretty or Alex Pretty. I think it's Alex Pretty. Now, I'm not going to show the shooting of Alex Pretty because I think that we've all seen that. But what I will show are two different videos, the before and the after. And I want to point out some things because I know there's a lot of fueled rhetoric out there about this. This is the video taken from the of Alex, okay? Now, as police officers approach a woman that they just pushed down, who was before this in the middle of the road obstructing federal agents, okay? They push her down, and Alex Pretty is right there. This is where he enters. The ICE agents, they try to pepper spray him, okay? And what does he do? During this time, you can hear the officer say, get away. Get back. Get back. Then right there. So what you have to understand about this is they were not after Alex Pretty at all. That woman was obstructing them. She approached the officer. They pushed her back and were moving in to detain her. That's at least my opinion. And multiple law enforcement that I've shown this video to say the same thing. Yeah, they were going to detain her. And then he interfered with it. Not only interfered with it, right there. This is the reason why, right there, that 5 officers jumped on Alex. Look right here. He goes in, grabs her, and starts dragging her. From an officer's perspective, yeah, they've seen this guy out there who's collaborating with her. They don't know why he's dragging her, but he's aggressively dragging her, as you can watch. Whether he's trying to remove her from the situation and ensure that she doesn't get arrested, it doesn't matter. Right there, he's obstructing federal officers. Okay? So people say there's no aggression from Alex to prompt the response from police officers. It's right there. Right there. That's why. Before that, they pepper sprayed him, told him to get back. Moments before this, they were like, stay back. And he doesn't. He engages them. Now, whose fault is that? Bad decisions on his behalf. But a lot of that comes about from agitprop, agitation propaganda. It comes about through the side war that is going on, that is brainwash these people to interfere with federal officers conducting their duty. All right? We have more events like this happening. Federal agents in St. Paul, they pursued a man who fled in a vehicle and struck multiple officers. One agent fired shots in a defensive response, and the person was... My computer just went crazy. But then there's this video. This is the aftermath video of Alex Preddy. This is after he's shot. Now, I will explain what I saw through the videos and what I think is happening and the other side of how he got shot. But I want you to see this right here. Just listen closely to what the officers say. Okay, this video shows two different things. Number one is the responding officers that just shot Alex are looking for the gun. They did not see the gun removed from him. This shows me that the officers shot Alex believing he is the one that fired off the first round. And we heard that round. Now, what happened? Okay, number one. We saw he grabs a woman, begins to drag her. The cops jumped on him to detain him because he was impeding their arrest. They're wrestling with him. He fights back. Stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. And he's on his knees, on his elbows. Listen, if 5 cops jump on top of you, just lay the fuck down. Comply. Put your arms out, put your legs out, and say, I'm complying. Don't say another word. Let them cuff you. Let them search you and do their job. Your battle is not with the cops. It's with the courts. It's really that simple. But when you sit there and you try to get to your knees, you're reaching for your waistband, and someone sees a gun and they say, gun, because that's exactly what happened here. He goes to his knees, he's reaching, and a cop says, gun. And one cop comes up and he grabs the gun. And when he turns and walks away, the gun misfires and goes off. 1.5 seconds. And so what happens when the cop says, gun? That's when the cops begin to draw. Then they hear, boom, and that's when they fire. Then afterwards, you're like, where's the gun? Where's the gun? And the cop comes around the corner and says, oh, I cleared the gun. And that's when those cops go, oh, shit. Because there was mistakes made on both sides. And we shouldn't be ignorant of this. Alex Preddy made a lot of bad decisions that day that cost him his life. Number one is he interfered with federal officers. Number two is he went in and interfered with an arrest that federal officers were trying to make, or at least that's the perspective I have from it. Number three is he resisted arrest, or he resisted federal officers who were trying to detain him. Now, did Alex Preddy deserve to die? No, absolutely not. It's tragic. It's a tragic loss of life. And I'm not saying that because no, I'm telling you, the guy did not deserve to die. He should be alive today. The reason he's dead is because of the mistakes on the other side that I'm not ignorant of federal officers. Now, the officer that shoots him and the other corresponding officers that shoot him, were they justified? My opinion, from law enforcement that I've talked to and we've looked at the videos, I call it circumstantial justification. They believed that he was an active threat, that he had a gun, and they heard a gunshot. That's why they engaged. The person who fucked up in this situation was that cop that said gun, goes in, grabs the gun, clears it, it misfires, and he never said to the other officers, gun clear, I've cleared the gun, no threat, gun clear. Because you're supposed to. The moment he pulled that gun off of Alex Preddy, he should have said, gun is clear, gun is clear. He didn't. And that mistake right there, if that had been done, I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened because the gun still misfired. I'm saying that if that cop had said to the other officers that he cleared the gun, the situation would have been much different. As well as if Alex Preddy complied. Listen, I'm a concealed firearm carry. Okay. I've had a CCW for a very long time. If I'm driving in my car and I got a pistol on my side and I get pulled over by the police, the first things that I do is I take my dash mirror and I point it towards my steering wheel. Angle it so that cop, when he's coming up the side of my vehicle, can see my hands. I roll down my window, I have my hands on the steering wheel, and I say, officer, before we get started with anything, I just want to notify you that I am carrying a concealed firearm. First thing I do. Why? Because I have concealed carry etiquette. I don't want to get shot by a cop because he sees a gun, right? Now, hypothetically speaking, if I'm in a situation like Alex, I'm at a protest, I got my concealed carry firearm on me, and I see them doing some mean stuff to this woman, and I go over there, and I'm like, get off of her, and I grab her and start dragging them, and the cops jump on me, even after I'm pepper sprayed. You want to know what I'm doing? I'm complying, down to my knees, hands on my head. First thing I say, I got a firearm. I call out the location of it, because the moment let's assume Alex Preddy did exactly that when the cops jumped up on him and says, I have a firearm. The cops would have jumped off of him and all pulled their weapons and then gave him orders. And it would have been over. He probably would have went home that day. So there is mistakes made on both sides, and we should not be ignorant of that. And then you get rhetoric from Kristi Noem, the head of the DHS, from Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, like, this guy tried to assassinate DHS. No, he fucking didn't. And you know what? It's that type of rhetoric right there from Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller that it's the same agitation propaganda that we have on the left. And I only wish that Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem would go back and pull their words back, because they acted too promptly. They did not wait for all the details to come out. They just simply said what they wanted to say. And it's contradictory to the real narrative that Americans are seeing. And it makes a lot of us that are devout Trump supporters, 100% of MAGA America First, look at that administration and say, that was fucked up. It's a PR nightmare right now. Now, why do I think that they're egging it on? I think ultimately you have to have the Insurrection Act. I think ultimately that the only way to take all of this down, to bring all of this to a point of finality, is through the Insurrection Act. That there's going to be no other way around it. That's my thoughts. So I know that some people, I haven't looked at the chat, and I'm trying not to look at the comments in the chat with what I'm saying on this, because I know a lot of people probably disagree with me. No, he deserves to die. That's your opinion. Okay. This is my opinion. Like, I love when people tell me, you know, Josh, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Some of them smell like roses. Some of them smell like shit. But at the end of the day, the only thing that comes out of them is shit. This is my opinion. You got yours, right? From what I've analyzed, and trust me, I've been paying very close attention to this. I got law enforcement friends. We've sat there, watched this, went through this. We went over regulations. We went over training. We went over protocols. Okay? These ICE officers, I feel bad for those ICE officers that shot Alex. The reason being is because they potentially will face charges after this investigation is done. Not because they killed an innocent man, but because they killed an innocent man thinking that that man was armed and an active threat. It's fucked up. But this was a bad situation, very chaotic. And mistakes were made on both sides. And I think that we need to acknowledge that. And there was rumors today that the head of Border Patrol, Bavino, was being fired. And no, he's actually just being removed from Minnesota. Like I said, Customs and Border Patrol are leaving Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that they're going on to other cities to do other things. Okay, so let's transition again. And I know that some people are like, dude, I agree with you or I disagree with you. That's okay. My problem with people on X specifically that are out there pushing one narrative with another, that's the problem. It's either it's black or white. There is no in the middle. Yeah, there is the in the middle. They all made fucking mistakes. They all made bad decisions that day. That cop that grabbed that weapon off of Alex should have called out, weapon clear, weapon clear. Those Alex Preddy should have stood up and said, I have a firearm. I'm complying, and got down. He shouldn't have been interfering with federal operations, but that's because of the propaganda. Well, but the federal officer shouldn't have been taking him down. Then he shouldn't have aggressively tried to grab a woman that federal officers were trying to talk to and detain. Right? Like, it's one after another. My suggestion, if you're in the left and you're listening to this and you agree or disagree with me, I don't care. Stay the hell out of law enforcement's way. Let them do their job. If you have a problem with what they're doing, take it to the courts. The courts are your battlefield. Not on the streets with armed federal officers that you're standing in the way of and putting their lives at risk. It's sad, man. Okay. We're going to go into a transition. You remember I told you it was hot in here? Man, it is really hot in here. I got 2 heaters on and it just got really hot in here. Let me go into here. I'm going to read one more ad and then we're going to get into the next segue of the show. So this is for Rumble. For anybody on Rumble who's interested in this, you can go ahead and go on over the Rumble and find this. I want to tell you about a law that just passed. The Trump legalized hemp in 2018, but legislation just passed that bans almost all of CBD plus hemp products by November. This is huge. We've talked about this on the show before. Hemp is not the same thing as marijuana. Hemp is a historic American commodity. George Washington grew it. Some colonies required a percentage of the crops to be hemp, and colonists could even pay taxes with hemp. In the 1930s, before it was banned the first time, hemp was used in 25,000 products plus generated $1 billion a year. For perspective, that equaled 25% of the federal budget. Hemp holds tremendous potential for Americans' economies today. Here's what's been happening. A few powerful groups of pharma and marijuana lobbyists have been pushing for this ban. This legislation makes CBD plus hemp products scientifically, financially impossible to make. This affects 325,000 jobs plus wipes out thousands of American innovations. Innovations range from energy alternatives to durable building materials and even biodegradable plastic alternatives, which reduce microplastics and dependencies on Chinese products. This bill will affect a lot of you plus America in ways you're unaware of. Click the Emerald Med link below to learn about this bill plus how to fight the ban. The company Emerald Med, who helps support channels like ours with ads, have been fighting this ban. They fought vaccine mandates during COVID and reached 120 plus million views in ad fighting mandates. Now they're fighting this ban and need your help. So click below and learn more. And you can find the QR code on the Rumble page right now, as well as the links in the description and in the chat. Please go help them out and check out what they got going, guys. Because we definitely need to reverse this right now. So it was passed in the last spending bill. All right. Trump. Canada is against the Golden Dome being built over Greenland, even though the Golden Dome would protect Canada. Instead, they voted in favor of doing business with China, who will eat them up within the next year. That's what Trump posted. And he let it brew. He let it sit there. Then he put out another one this weekend. I love Donald Trump. If Governor Cardi thinks he is going to make Canada a drop-off port for China to send goods and products into the United States, he is sorely mistaken. China will eat Canada alive, completely devour it, including the destruction of their businesses, social fabric, and general way of life. If Canada makes a deal with China, it will immediately be hit with 100% tariff against all Canadian goods and products coming to the United States of America. Thank you for your attention on this matter. And what happened after that? Because you're going to remember, Carney came out praising China, met with Xi Jinping. Remember this? This is how it started. This is how it ended.
I'm pleased today to announce that Canada and China have reached a preliminary but landmark trade agreement.
We have commitments under CUSMA that not to pursue free trade agreements with non-market economies without prior notification. We have no intention of doing that with China or any other non-market economy.
Oh, that was fast. You know, he wants to be all big and tough on the global stage, but when Donald Trump pushes back, it's that fast. Was this a Rommel trial? Was this something else that happened? I don't know. This is interesting. A private jet belonging to a prominent anti-ICE, anti-Trump lawyer crashed in Maine. All 8 passengers dead. I just find that timing is very interesting. I don't know. Just things that make you go. Now, you have Carney in Canada that comes out and says, nah, we're not doing deals with Canada or China. Nah, sorry about that, Donald Trump. Remember last week we were learning about Keir Starmer in the UK, how he was going to sell Chagos to Mariotis. And China owns Mariotis, and so he's going to sell Diego Garcia. Yeah. UK Prime Minister Starmer withdraws the Chagos Islands bill. He has pulled the legislation that would have transferred Chagos Islands to Mariotis. The move comes after criticism from Donald Trump and warnings that the bill would violate the 1966 UK-US treaty. Love it. So, to kind of go into the last part here, this last weekend, senior Chinese generals were arrested. Remember when we talked about this in September, October timeframe? I told you there was a coup against Xi Jinping that was forming, that people in the PLA were limiting Xi Jinping in the public purview, that they had limited his power and his scope, that Xi Wang, his second premier, was actually running a lot of the show, and that they were seeking to remove Xi Jinping. This was all true. It was all actually happening. And this was being done by the former president, Jintao, who basically is the head of the Chinese deep state, which kind of think about it as the Western global order. That's their part of China. And so they were trying to take out Xi Jinping. And there was rumors about potentially assassination attempts and all this stuff. But from what we are gathering is that Xi Jinping actually rose up out of this. So, Jennifer Zhang actually reported on this. She said, my take on Zhang Yuzua's downfall. I personally believe that the rumors I previously reported about Xi Jinping losing power or partially losing power are real. However, the CCP elders who initiated the soft coup, Hua Jintao, Wen Jiabao, and Zhang Yuixia, who cooperated with them, still wanted to preserve the party, maintain the party's face, and ensure internal stability within the party. They even hoped to return to Deng Xiaoping era, which is unfeasible. Because they didn't act in time to completely take down Xi Jinping, they missed their opportunity and were counterattacked by Xi Jinping. Last week, there were rumors that Xi Jinping was seriously ill and hospitalized. In hindsight, this was a smokescreen released by Xi Jinping to confuse his opponents. It said that Zhang Zhawaya, who let his guard down, only brought 4 guards to the meeting and was captured by more than 100 people ambushed there. Some also say that Zhang Yuia did intend to take down Xi Jinping, but was betrayed by an informant. Either way, massive power control going on in China right now. So it's pretty crazy to see all that unfolding. And this is one of the reasons we said that China is still a direct threat, even in the multipolar world landscape. That, you know, with the rise of artificial superintelligence, everything that's happening out there, that China is still a direct threat. And this is why Donald Trump has aligned it as such, but is doing it more internally by fortifying the Western Hemisphere than actual direct engagement with China, and then renegotiating trade deals and kicking them out of the Western Hemisphere. So crazy about the world that we live in, man. Let me go in here real quick. I just want to see if there is anything. Few different things. If you guys want to help support anything that we're doing, number one, the Rumble Wallet, cryptocurrency, redpills.tv/Rumble Wallet, or actually just go to, redpillproject.rumble.wallet or wallet.rumble. Hold on. What the hell is the damn link? I'm sorry. Tip jar. All right. Go in here. There it is. All right. Rumble Wallet. So if anybody's interested in helping us out, the Rumble Wallet is there and active. It's actually pretty cool. I highly recommend people getting it, but that's that link right there. In the context of other links, other ways to support us, premium subscriptions are absolutely welcome. We love them. Helps us out a lot. And then other ways to support us are if you go to our website, and that's redpills.tv, really easy to remember there, redpills.tv. All right. And this website's going to be changing its design this week, but this is the website right now. And you down at the bottom, you're going to see two buttons: follow us, which is all of our social media. And then the other one is support us. And this has ways to support us, from Give, Send, Go campaigns, Cash App, crypto, PayPal, etc. Ways to support us, or just a subscription on any of our premium channels. It absolutely helps. And we appreciate all of the support from all of you guys out there. So much love, respect. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Kicking ass on all channels. Let me see. I wanted to see what we were at on YouTube. Let me see. 797 people on YouTube. That's a new record. We got 1,800 on X. Thank you, X. Appreciate it, guys. Thumbs up, subscribe, follow if you are not already doing that. Appreciated. Over 2,400 on Rumble. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I will be back with you tomorrow night. I think normal time. Yep, kids only have practice tomorrow. Normal time tomorrow. So much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And then Guardians of Truth. If you guys like this music, the links will be scrolling on how to get access to it. Take care. Good night. Oh, doing that the wrong way. God bless.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns to silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last price. There was a time, but the time isn't near.
freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time is near, the great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave, no more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time. There was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!